Okay, I'm range trading the Canadian dollar on the 4-hour chart. Big selling opportunity up here, where we just couldn't get the party started. All the trend guys were long. They had their candle bot was so bullish right up into here. We were so bullish. Broke out of this triangle all the way back to the starting gate. Reconsolidating on the 4-hour. I'm looking to buy down here. And I'm scalping. Scalping on the 4-hour looks like this. A little different than scalping on the 15-minute. Because here we're looking to get in on these key re-entry levels. This is 20 pip grid. And I just trying to keep all my trend lines down to keep them down to the pivots only on the closing price. And the wick window, anything below close, for instance this is where we want to get in, this trap zone. Now it looks like we're going to reinitiate the uptrend, but earlier, when this thing was in this major trend phase for the whole end of the week, where does this thing climax? Right up there. Just couldn't push it over the edge. Ran it to the edge. A real range trader's dream, this market. And a real retester's dream. This is a valid entry here. You had the color with you. You had the confirmation entry, right? Now we're looking for a confirmation to go long. We want to get filled on a buy limit, say here. If not, I want to get filled on, I just want to buy at the market right now. But I want to get filled here. All right, looking for another 20 pips down. At least for the scalp. Maybe you can't do it. Another reason why you want to have a buy limit right here is because of this big juicy zone here. Now if you zoomed in, at some point here you're going to have to accept the fact you might have missed the entry. But oh well. That's why I want to trade the 15-minute chart. This is a 4-hour chart, and you know, not a lot of chances to jump on the train here. But in the trend bot world, I guess you had to have a buy limit here, right? You had to strictly, if you have to go with a entry rule set, you need a buy limit here. The apex of all triangles, you need to have a buy limit. And because the trend's up, right? And hopefully you made your 100 pips. This is 20 pip handles. Now you're going to re-enter here, right? Now you get filled. But now maybe you plunge through back further, so we could always go deeper. We could always go deeper off that, right? That's certainly the juicy zone, some guy referred to it as in a video. While he has 100-day moving average running in the background, I just thought, yeah, that's the juicy zone. No kidding. I just got filled on 3 orders there. I'm scalping out of everyone has a scalp built in. Okay, again I'm in. I scalped out, boom, I'm in again. Now I've still got buy limits down here. I'm looking to get filled. But I'm scalping this structure level here. I mean, this is 4-hour chart. This goes way back. Like, this is the first triangle breakout. This is the second kind of bizarre, you know, cluster triangle. There's a triangle right there. I don't know if you can see it, but right here is a plus there's a big void forming here, and there's a big stop hunt. This is the crush, the smash and grab before we rip north. But I'm out, right? I've got in here, and I'm looking to get in another retest. It's a retester's dream, Canadian dollar. I'm convinced, right? I mean, this is the 4-hour chart. On the 1-hour chart, just to pop it up here for kicks, I'm going to put up the 1 hour playback. This is 4 hour playback. I'm going to do the 1 hour chart. Got 20 pip handles. This one would be more of a volatility system. As soon as we go from a 4 hour to 1 hour, we're going to change the whole landscape of everything. Oh, I forgot to drop that template. That'll slow it down. But this is going to be a little different world now. If you play it back in a kind of a reasonable speed of 30, and okay, so do a mental rehearsal here. Every time you're below 20 pips now it's a whole different world of trading. Now you can run stuff that is going to make money in the next. In other words, your risk window is only going to be 4 hours or 3 hours or something like that. And in this system here, as soon as you went from a 4 hour to a 1 hour, all the rules change. And this is going to be a little bit tamer mechanical trading system. And you can still place buy limits at the outliers, but the structures are going to be, there's more trades. And there's more of volatility factor. So you're going to keep your rules set. Right now you wouldn't be trading, right? And this is what I refer to as the female system of trading. We don't do anything risky. We don't do anything outlandish. We don't do anything stupid. Right? Whereas a guy's view of the world is sell here. Okay, you might be okay for 10, 20 pips, but then you're going to get crushed. So if we let our orders stack up like, say you're, like, well, when I was growing up, the term was, it's piling up for you. In other words, you keep fucking up, and eventually I'm going to have to break out the belt and whip you. So as the market's quiet, it's like piling up, and this is when you have your stop entries and you have your limit entries, but everything's tight, and you may get snapped out of the trade, right? They might wash you out, but in this world of the 1 hour trader, you always know if it's a trend day or not. I mean, or a trend bar, and you also know that your orders need to be biased with that color if you're going to do this smooth Heikin-Ashi style. But it's totally viable. It's a different style of trading, though, because you're going with the order flow, and but you're also you have to be patient for the market to calm down and give you a color shift. And so you can see the bias, the previous bias. You want to be long right now. You want to be getting out, I think, of most of your stuff because you're coming to the end of the day. So maybe you clear the decks. You've had your run. You got an entry here because if your rule is that the markets are below 30 pips, say 30 pip range, you're going to enter the market. If it's below 20 pips, you're definitely, you've got your orders stacking up. You're also getting in on pendings that you placed at key support and resistance zones based on just the classical top becomes a bottom. Top becomes a triple bottom. Each one of these has a buy limit for a 20 pip scalp with a 10 pip stop, say, right? So you're making something. You're making some kind of money. Or you got to, say, a 13 pip stop to make 21 pips. So it's like your Fibonacci trade, right? And you're always dropping them. You're always dropping them, right? And some last 4 hours, some last all day. But this is good all day long, right? All day long. This is always going to be the top. It's always going to be the pullback. This is going to be where the role reversal is expected to happen. It happens twice, right? So one of those could have been to make 20, 30, 40 pips. One could be make 80 pips because you went up 80 pips, right? Now you're thinking, okay, well, it's quiet, right? Nobody trades now. Let's leave these buy limits down here. But let's buy, if we come back to this top and also here. So we can have orders in here. We're going to start to maybe take this guy and move it. So now we're going to buy if it comes back into here. Now that might not happen till the morning, right? Maybe some news comes out, but this is going to be definitely the place that everybody wishes they could the guys that missed out on this wish they could get in here, and the guys that are selling up here are wishing it comes down to there. So had you stepped in front of the market and put your sell limit here, right, with a 20 pip stop, you just made 20 or 30 pips. Now that's a daredevil trade, right? That's a non-confirmational trade. That's just, your confirmation is you're getting filled on this sell limit. This is a top. This is now the head. This is now the shoulder. You could have also sold that shoulder, and that would be the confirmation trade, right? Pulls back, goes back up. That's what this guy's talking about. This confirmation guy. He's thinking like that. Comes up, builds his criteria, comes down, bam, sell. Of course, you got to be willing to get the hell out because maybe they're trapping the wick guys here right now. You never know, right? So you definitely want to take off there. Maybe you get light in here, but you've still got these pendings here that haven't filled on down here. But the day's young. I mean, so Europe just opened. Now, this is kind of like trading the dollar index, I guess, in a way. But, Canada is so close to the States. It's like the Swiss franc against the euro. This is like their neighbors, so it's a very range-bound market and just kind of a retesting game of retest. So you may not get filled on these orders, and this is really not, it's kind of boring. You're going to wait. And if you don't get filled, hopefully you went long here on a stop hunt strategy. So you're running multiple strategies. You can't just have one strategy in your toolbox, right? Because if the music changes and the dance changes, you got to be able to whip out this other strategy. And always having orders down here in Disneyland, right here where this is going to be the contention zone. And it's going to get pretty hot and hairy if it ever comes down there. Like this wick is a brutal, when it came, because it was the last battle zone was here where somebody had a stop here, right? And they grabbed his stop and then they ripped it all the way to here. So that was the last time we've seen the manipulation window, right? Whatever you want to call it. It's kind of like the value zone, right? And so we could come back there. I'm going to speed this thing up. So that 1 hour strategy to me. Now, for the girls sold here, right? It was quiet. They had a blue bar, whatever. Maybe they're just volatility traders, right? You could totally be a blind volatility trader. You don't need to have any type of concept of range. You can just be like, when it gets quiet, I'm just going to get in whichever way it's going, right? Here, like you were a genius here, right? Of course, you got stop hunted here maybe, but you were a genius, right? When it got quiet, you said, I don't care which way it's going. I'm a go with the flow person, right? If you're a go with the flow person, why would you care? You would just simply put your orders in when the market's quiet. I can't imagine why you'd want to decide where it's going. Now, this would be like kind of a female approach. Not that women don't have a goal, but they're willing to go with the flow. Like, say, this is why you want your I guess this is why they have kids, because they can handle, oh, the kid's crying, let's go manage that, right? they're not like, well, wait a minute, it's not on my checklist. I mean, they're not going to take, maybe they are take offense to stuff, but I don't know. It seems like guys are more, maybe I'm wrong, but, it just seems like women can handle, they have more patience to say, well, you told me when it does this. I mean, not that girls don't understand mechanical objects, but let's face it, if you gave a girl a car and you told her, listen, this parking brake thing here, you only want to use that when the car is not rolling. This is, of course, you may actually set them up for failure because all they will remember that you said is pull this lever, right? They forgot the part about, no, only when you're stopped, honey, pull that, right? Darling, only when, I shouldn't even have showed you the lever, right? In other words, maybe they think it's something else, right? And, you kept talking about that lever, I kept using it. So maybe that's not a good idea, right? But when the market's quiet, at least for the robot, if you had a robot that only took trades on a market that was under 20 pips, maybe that's the way to go. Now, this may not be the best filter for the Canadian dollar because it looks like it's a little more bombastic than my 20 pip filter's a little too tight because you're missing out on some of these 40 pip breakouts. But of course, the more you risk, right, the bigger you're looking to make on the trade. But it's not like, in other words, if you could be 5 different people, right? In other words, if you could be the volatility guy, but also you're the psycho, I'm literally going to sell the top of the market. I'm going to trade resistance in the most basic, simple manner that it actually is really resistance. That's why the price is rejected up here. So you had a sell pending on this swing high in time, and you also had it right up on the edge, right? And you just made 60 pips on that trade. But you're also the person that says, I'm just going to be like a girl, I'm wait till it gets quiet. But that's going to be a different kind of order. But you have to be flexible enough to say you're short from the top here, right? And unless you're going to buy on limits below, you can't really add to your short there. You almost have to think about, well, they just grabbed these guys. And that's the 1 hour chart. Of course, I would probably be cashing out here. Wait for it to calm down. Now you go into the mode of being if the market's on fire and you're not willing to put your buy limits down here, so you want a buy limit here, you want one here, you want here, then you start to place those buy limits, or maybe you're still short, right? But to be able to switch your brain back and forth between these different personalities, depending on what the market's doing at the moment. And this is the 1 hour chart, and when this news breaks, I could see all the scalps in here. In other words, every place I'd want to have a buy limit with a scalp order is always going to be this window here, where it's very contentious. And this is also the window here. I kept smashing these guys and ripping it up. This could be the next entry, but now this is where we're long on this internal top. You have to be long on something there, if only for a scalp, right? If only for one night, like Luther Vandross, right? If only for one night. And you have to have that mentality the whole time. Now, the girls aren't in on this trade yet because it hasn't gotten quiet. And they're going to probably wait till the Asian close. There's nothing wrong with your whole strategy being built around this Asian close here. You get a double bottom here. You have a high probability baby rally. You establish this zone. Now you start to think in terms of a range trader. So when it goes into range mode, you put your range helmet on and you just become a range trader. But it's that flexibility, right? That's the hard part. So being a flexible person is a real advantage in trading. And in other fields of endeavor, you would be considered to be wishy-washy. If you were a politician, you wouldn't be able to take that flexibility skill necessarily. Maybe in other aspects of being a politician, but politicians, you have to have a platform, right? And that's it, one template. You can't be switching templates because people are going to say to you, well, so what's your story? Who are you? Whereas in trading, you can be wishy-washy and make money, because if you're going to go with order flow and you're going to be like a girl. Now, we just went into a quiet phase here, and the non-directional, without regard to the color, the non-directional people got filled on a sell stop here, and they didn't get filled on their buy stops, so they're already up on the trade, right? We may be spilling out of this now. We're coming into the European Open, and the dollar is starting to fall into all of the bulls stops. So maybe you're short on the breakout here like a girl, but you're getting long on limits down here. All your limits are pending, waiting to get filled. And maybe you money managed, you took something off the table, you moved your stops to break even. Now the girls would be moving their stops to break even, but they'd be managing the trade, right? Maybe the guy's not managing the trade, right? And so to be able to trade from both hemispheres of your brain, you're like, so you really are holding both ideas at the same time in your mind. You can see the other side, you can see the trend guy's view, and you can see the scalper's view and the swing trader's view all simultaneously. But you don't have to commit to any one. You can live in those both. You can live in all three worlds, or hopefully you can live in all three worlds. The market typically can offer you 10 to 20 pips of profit and loss almost all day long. Of course, risking 20 to make 50 doesn't always show up. So willing to accept very shallow targets, and this would be the part that would conflict with the greedy side of your brain that's thinking, well, I'll get in here and it's going to go through the roof. That would be the thing. Of course, on the 1 hour chart, always 10 to 20 pips should be available, just in static range trading stuff where you don't have this idea of trend in your mind. You're just in range mode. So willing to accept that and pay most of your, say 50% of your wins are from scalping, and another 30% are from say trend trading, and another whatever 20% left is whatever, I don't know the math there, you slice it up, but maybe you're making money 30% of the time on these outlandish entries here. Of course, these would have risk to reward ratios of, say, risk 10 to make 50. So you're trying to make 50 pips off of a 20 pip stop or a 10 pip stop. 20 pip stop, 60 pip take profit, right? Triple your money. Those are doable in the Canadian dollar. And so now we've established this resistance point. It looks like the buyers came in at this. Now, if you had a pending here, just on a structural entry, and even the girls might get in here if it calms down, for the volatility non-directional breakout. So we have to resolve this triangle one way or another. And if we've got scalps built into the strategy, in other words, we're willing to just take this. In other words, even the guy that bought this top become a bottom, he has to be willing to just take 10 pips, otherwise he's just got crushed, right? Now, all these buy limits are kind of like the guy's entry, right? And the girls are waiting for this thing to calm down. They're always waiting for it to calm down because, in domestic abuse, I don't think too many women are beating the fuck out of their husband, and the husband's waiting for it to calm down. But the woman's waiting for the guy to run out of energy, right, after he beats the hell out of his wife. And so these kind of dynamics, you can see them in the market. You can see this behavior. The market takes a pounding, right? They even say, like, you could use all these terms, or the spiked, right? Spike is like when you bitch slap your wife, right? You backhand her and she goes flying across the room and you accidentally killed her, right? You're like, oops. And then the approach avoidance aspect of it is the wild animal side of the market is this these wicks here. Anything below that close is going to be where the market's going to keep taunting the bulls. Now they bought that and they scalped out. This is going to be the pivotal moment. How many times can this serve as the feeding zone for the bulls? So they bought that. Maybe there's some trend guys in here now because, obviously we're in an uptrend. If you had to pick a trend, you'd say it's up, right? And this is getting and now the girls are on board, right? They're like, if it goes either way. So they're going to get in, and they've got their scalps to take something off the table, and they've got the outlandish orders, which would be considered the greedy. I'm going to make 150 pips on this thing because I've been watching it all week, and because of the buyers just came in again on the 15 here. Another entry off of this. This is the supply zone. Okay, taking your 20 pips and running this 20 pip grid. So you risk 10 to make 20, risk 10 to make 20. That's your trade. You keep trading that. This quiet session. Now the girls got buy stops forming on the top of this. It's getting very quiet. This is the end of the whole day. Nothing's really happened today. Now the wheels should come off either direction. Now, for the bullish entry here, you're not getting filled on your sell stops. You're only getting filled, if we break out north, we'll only get filled on the buy stops. Sell stops will decay unfilled if you have a timestamp, and you're going to just let those fade away, and you still got these monsters down here that last all day. Because we could still get a psycho spike down. Now we're coming into the close of the day. This has been a very quiet range trading day, but there's been an accumulation 4 times if you bought every bottom off of this internal bottom. If this is the head and these are the shoulders, and now we're coming up on this trend line. We just broke this trend line, but we also broke this one earlier. So, but this is the conservative one because it lasts longer. Now we can still come back and retest the apex of this thing. So the scalpers took their money here, and maybe the sellers even came in on these wicks, right? Because that was you're right in a fake breakout right now, right, of some sort, right? They've trapped the bulls. The stop entry technique people are trapped right now. Okay, they're getting their ass kicked by 20 pips right now. But the buy limit guys are buying this top. And if these stop entry guys didn't put their stop in too tight, they're still long, right? So they're loving it. And we're all anticipating what's going to happen when we take out this high that goes back 2 days. This 1 hour chart, and this is kind of a nice lifestyle. This isn't too much trading. Of course, today yesterday, you would be slightly still long, maybe on your trend trades, and you scalped out, say, 40 pips. And maybe you added to your position here, right? Because you got a top becoming a bottom. So maybe you added a little bit here. But it's very fragile. It could come ripping back at any moment. You're not making a ton of pips here. It's a very drift up kind of trade, right? But that's trend trades can be. You're painful, agony of waiting for the completion of, this creeper gear. So, but we broke out the triangle. Now we're going to come up on this. We'll see the reaction point here, whereas I'm going to be taking some profit on the blow through here, and I gotta zoom in because the market's just too damn shallow looking. So, and I don't care about back there now, I care just about here. Here was the entry today on the 1 hour for the top bottom theory on time. And even the robot is long all day long here. Even though he got his head handed to him here, you got to give him some credit. But this is a classic entry for a top bottom in an uptrend, right? Now here's where the scalpers cleaned up. The non-confirmation scalpers sold that for the 20 pip rip back. Now, is this going to be where we get long? We're either going to wait for an hour to go by, or we're just going to have our pendings here and wait for the market to fill us in price without regard to time. Well, we've got the luxury now. If we scalped out of some of these pendings, if some of these were scalps, we can sit back and wait for a slam back to here, or we're just going to wait for the hour to pass and we're going to hit the buy button because we're all anticipating the breakout of the high of the day, and nobody's seeing anything. We're all looking at the same market, and it's not, you're not up against the best traders in the world, and the banks aren't making all this money. That's another, I don't agree. Somebody said, oh, well, look who's making all the money. Well, if the banks were that good at trading, why are we bailing them out, right? The banks are human beings. Don't forget there's people trading, right? Okay, there's the breakout. Now, this is going to be a 20 pip scalp for the scalpers of this breakout. You've got to think in terms of taking something off the table because we could come ripping back at any moment. In fact, we could plunge all the way back through the floor. Okay, now you come in. This is the confirmation entry. Breakout, pullback, enter, to go. Right? Scalpers took their money, and wow, But this is always that. Now they're going to come back to this top. The limit order guys are getting in. The scalpers are up 40 pips on this trade right now, right? The guys that sold up here, or the guys that even sold the fake breakout are up 20 pips now, right? Coming back into this. The pullback could become all the way back into here now. Let's not forget that the guy that has his entry here had to put his stop in. In other words, his strategy has to be. It has to be, but typically this is how it runs. If you buy this stop here, people will tell you, well, put your protection at the last known low, swing low, which is right here. So if your stop is here, you're still in. But is it possible that they could just smack that all the way down into here and then really go up, right? And even if, so if you missed this entry, you could have still gotten in on this peak without breaking any rules of this being your confirmation entry. Also the entry for the but the stop, you also want to have a buy limit here, a buy limit here, a buy limit all the way back in here, which seems pretty insane, but I do agree with this guy that I was talking about. He says that I'm going to get in when you think that that's a bad trade. That's the trade you should take. Okay, now they're stopping this guy out. So they just raped this guy, right? This guy bought the breakout because it's making a higher high, and look, they just crushed his stop. Now they crushed his stop here, but I'm buying all his stops right now, right? I'm buying all his stops. Or I sold up here. I'm up 60 pips right now. But I have a buy limit sitting here because I've still got this supply zone that still exists forever. Now I'm buying here, and I'm looking for a scalp out of one of these, and I'm buying here. I'm buying all the way down, actually. So I could take some punishment here, but these have to be Since these lasted, these are from days back, these need to be at least 20 to 40 pip stops, right? Because you need to scale into this. You're long here, you're long here, you're on 4 tickets now, right? You're loading the wagon on this puppy. Plus, you've got this trendline break retest coming in. They trap these guys. They might be turtle traders, right? In the long run, they might be right, but look at, I'm buying here, I'm buying here, I'm buying all the way down. This is like ridiculous, right? They just took out the low of the day and they're going to go after the low of this day. I'm buying more. I'm just buying this whole, I just bought more. Buy, 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 buy. Buy there too, right? They just stopped this guy out. Now this is where you could have just bought this, right? Look how they came all the way back to that. Look how big a deal that was. And that was the scene of the crime from this rally. It's now the scene of the crime from this. But I've traded like this before. This is swing trading. You're going to buy into this whole plunge-ola. Now, the girls never were on that trade. They would never step in front of this market's not fitting their pip range entry. They might have got short, say when it's quiet here, but look at this. Look at how brutal it is for the guy that bought this breakout. He was told it's in an uptrend on the daily. They're bullish the Canadian dollar. Blah blah blah. Look how they just handed his head to him. Now they're coming after my entry here again. I'm buying more. I'm going to buy all the way down to here. Buy, 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 buy. And that's the 1 hour chart. So how long can this go on? And these are white knuckle trades. Now, hopefully I scalped out of something here, right? But yeah, these are all my buys. Down, 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 down. Just keep filling me. So maybe I'm getting stopped out, but hopefully I've got like 40, 50 pip stops. If I'm swing trading this, I'm getting in all the way to here. Look at, bam, I'm long. Just buying this whole thing. Every 20 pips, boom, I'm long. Yes. I don't even care at this point. Look at, I mean, this is seriously, come on, who isn't buying this, right? Look left. Oh my God. Yeah, no, I'm buying this whole thing. Okay, so I'm long here. I'm just totally piled in, right? All these orders back here, all these sleeper cells, right? Come on, who's not buying that? Then I'm buying here. I'm buying even more here than I bought here, right? Come on, let's face it. This is swing trading. Buying here. There's a stop here. Some poor guy's got to stop here. So where were the stops? Where were all these stops here? That, oh, you got to stop there, did you? Oh, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Now this seems like I'm losing, right? And I'm getting stopped out. If I'm buying in without a tight stop, or if I'm buying too heavy into this. Look at this trade. Are you serious? How many pips did I just make off of this, guys? If I have an order sitting here without confirmation to buy this stop down here, and I bought all of this, I bought the all these pivots. My exit's got to be up here though, right? So if I bought all of that crush and I got stopped out of some of these, okay, I'm taking profits here right now. So my first exit has to be hit this, right? Because of this. Look at this. This is a 30 pip wick. Look at that trade. Now, you gotta just realize that is so much money. Is that a trend trade? Absolutely not. It's counter trend trade. In other words, a trend trade was the girls got in here, right? And they're like, oh, look, it's still going down. Now look at this. Another chance to buy. You scalp that whole thing. I'm buying again. I'm buying again. Who's not buying that? And I got buy limits down here. Boom, boom, boom. I'm long. Right? Come on. This is fun. Who's not buying that? Buy. Oh, yeah, I'm loading up. Look at, I got filled on this. Finally, right? Finally. Take it down to here. I'm buying all the way from here to here. Okay, now I just scalp those. Now I'm buying again. Buy. I have buy limits here. Who's not buying this? Look at how quick a money. Now, this is too much fun. Look at this. This is the top. When you say trading's boring, not when it's like this. No, this is too much fun, right? I didn't see this coming in the playback, but this is a classic. This just took out how many days of prices? And everybody's like, it's very bearish today. Wow, you think? Now, look at all of this. There's a scalp in there, right? You got to be scalping that. Plus, you're holding some of these for the big kahuna swing, right? We all know that the sellers are going to come in here, so you're going to scalp to here. This is the last known support. And you're on the 1 hour chart, so I can't switch to the 5 minute, but you can only imagine, right? All the wedges and all the stuff, right? This is it. This is how I used to make all that money. I made so much money trading without, I didn't have no stops in the account. Now, I was trading high leverage, no stops in the account. Imagine the Canadian dollar, which is like a range trader's dream now, still have this buy limit looking to get filled. Still looking to get filled on that. So in one day, this thing looks like it dropped about, I don't know, 300 pips, right? And in the last part of it's only been in a few hours. Okay, I'm waiting for the girls to come in now. I'm going to delete all this now. The girls should be coming in any moment, right? They were in here. They sold that breakout, and it's still blue. You should be short. If you're not, I wouldn't get short here, but maybe in a rally into the blue, right? Now, it's, if you look left, if you go way out here, this would be your buy limit here, and you got a buy limit here, right? So you just got filled there, and you're just about to get filled here, and you also have a buy limit here in the top inside the bottom, right? Boom, boom, boom. Now you're long. Now, this is pretty crazy, right? But you're looking to make about another buy limit here. Boom, you're long. Now notice how it pauses. Every time it gets to these things, it pauses and comes flying back. Another buy limit here, right? Now you're long for that whole thing. Did you just not make money there? Did you just not make money? Where's your exit? Now this is total contrarian trading. Psychotic. The girls are not trading this. There's no way. Like, who's got the balls to put buy limits down here for scalps? But look at that. Now a retest of those. A retest into this top. Look at that. Come on. Who isn't rehearsing this shit this happens on a 15-minute chart. Imagine you're trading, now this is Canadian dollar. It's a very volatile pair. Now you took some hits, right? There's no doubt you got stopped out depending on how, but if you're trading super small, what if you're trading super small and you have 50 pip stops, you have 100 pip stops, right? Looking to make 300 pips. You just made 100 pips here. Maybe you had, down here you had a 30 pip stop on this, a 20 pip stop on this to make how many pips? You just cleaned up, right? Your exit's here. You're getting out of everything here. So everything you bought for this 80 pip plunge, you're cashing out. Maybe you got some drift swing trades in there. You can still buy here on a retest of this. Now, this is now the girls are going to think about getting in this trade. And they really are, the ultimate volatility traders. And maybe they're going to of course, if they're non-directional, imagine that these women are non-directional, or this mentality. A 20 pip narrow quiet zone, they go either way. And then here, maybe they have to have a 40 pip go either way. But if you want either way on this, you have no bias. You're a zero bias trader. And maybe you're short, maybe you have a short bias. But without regard, if your stops are stacking up in here, and you're in the uptrend here, your stops are stacking up. When this thing starts to turn over, without regard, and once you get filled, if you have a 20 or 30 pip stop, you're able to withstand the whole plunge. And maybe you still got stops that are old, that are sitting back here. When the market gets quiet like this, the market maker game of continually coming down here and grabbing this, that game's going to be over. That game's no longer, that is no longer a viable, it's not going to happen. Okay, now, the retest guys got filled on all these buy limits that you got in earlier on are still good entry levels. They're still viable. And now I'm thinking, yeah, when this thing quiets down here, maybe there's one more sell left in this puppy. Of course, the sellers are going to come in here, or at least the scalpers are getting out here, because you're in a downtrend, if you're going to stick to this indicator, and you've got a bottom became a top. But the problem is that this came down so hard, you got to wait for this thing to give you one more fractal setup and wait for the girls to get on board, right? It gets quiet, maybe they put in their volatility strategy and they go long. Of course, who's not buying this, considering this to be the head of the shoulder? So maybe we come back for one more 20, 30 pip retest here and just let that happen. Let me speed this up now. I'm already impatient, but took it up one level. Okay, now maybe the girls or the volatility people have gotten in on a trailing. Another way to look at it too is when it's blue, you always have a trailing buy stop for reversal, and when it gets quiet, these orders come in a little bit fatter, and they come in more in a scalp style. So you're looking to scalp that. So maybe that's your bounce scalp, right? I'm still looking for one more pullback. Still looking for this thing to calm down a little bit on the 1 hour. For strictly trading with this color, you're only going to be placing biased long orders now. We're still waiting for it to calm down, but you probably have to drop this to a 40 pip calm down window maybe. But now you're looking to make 80 pips, right? Because if you're going to calm down into a narrow zone like that, you're going to have to increase your target. So a buy limit here would make sense, right, on the 1 hour, because we could come down and to retest this. But imagine you held everything that you bought earlier and only a couple were scalps. Aren't you a genius or what, right? And here's your exit here. So you're getting out here because of this floor. But look at this entry where everybody told you it's bearish, bad news, blah, blah, blah. You're still long from here. This has only been 2 days of prices. It's only 2 days. This is a swing trade. And you can clean up so hard in Forex swing trading. Clean up so hard. But it's going to go against every trend trader's strategy. Or maybe it's not, right? Maybe this is a pullback in the daily for the trend trader. But let's face it. When this thing was blowing out every stop, and just shearing the heads off the money management, in other words, the trend traders' money management stops were being cleaned out here. and you're piling into this, and you scalp out to here, and you got to get out there, right? And you got to get out on this double bottom back in here, this triple bottom here. But now you're thinking about maybe we get long on these pullbacks. But there's just an example of when the markets are plodding along in a quiet manner and everybody has a very a feeling of security based upon, oh, it's climbing up this thing here and everything's all fine and dandy, and then there's the break and here comes the resistance. So when you break this trend line and this becomes when this support becomes resistance up at the peak here, right at the climax of the stop hunt of the bears, then it becomes the ultimate entry for quiet entry here, plunge all the way down, but you almost have a 80% retracement right now. So buying this whole plunge, and this is only 2 days. This is 1 day down and 1 day up, and that's just how it can be. And of course, you have to be selling on every time you hit one of these previous floors. You have to be getting out or thinking about selling, because there's people that bought this thinking it was support. Holy crap, they're even now. They want to get even. And to be even psychologically, don't ever think that you're trading against. If you're trading against the best traders in the world, then who's trading this? Who's buying this and getting out there, right? Maybe it's you. Maybe it is a bank. We don't know. It's crowd mentality. Sure, these guys cleaned up, but you can't be thinking that this is going to go on forever. And the pace of this market is continuous fluctuations. For the quiet entry, the only narrow bars were here. This was the rollover. Just the lack of volatility. Nothing to do with anything, right? I mean, if you made money off that strategy of waiting for a 40 pip or 20 pip quiet, you could probably find it on the 15, right? If you played back the 15. So that's the other thing, is to stop this. Be a 15-minute trader. You're going to trade more. You're going to work harder, but you're going to make more money. You're going to pay a little more in spread. But here's a 20 pip, and this would be, you only take trades. Now you could get your girlfriend to trade this one, right? You only take trades. So you have a trailing. You don't pay attention to the colors. In other words, you're just getting in when it's quiet on a breakout. And look, you're making money, right? It's not quiet now. You can't trade it. You can't trade it now. You have to wait for it to be quiet here. You got trapped maybe. You're waiting for the market to get into a 20 pip zone on the 15. So you maybe want to turn off the colors and go to a template of, say, here's a 10 pip grid. You're just you're a non-directional trader, right? You're only trading volatility. So you sold here. No apparent reason. Right? Now I want to do one of these things. I want to do a strategy that only entails you trading when it's quiet, and when it's on fire like this, you're just hopefully taking profits on what you got in on the volatility breakout. So this is another strategy, another way to make money. For all you breakout traders, I'd say write scripts that are breakout scripts that scalp, plus they have monster take profits. Because the resolution to these breakouts, sure, you got maybe you got chopped here, but at least you scalped. And even here, it's quiet, you don't care. you drop it. Just drop it. 10 pip breakout. Gotta be quiet market though. Can't trade now. Can't trade now. So playback, 15-minute to rehearse the 15-minute volatility bot's gonna look like this. So I'm gonna put max speed, right? And I should be able to yell out when I'm gonna be able to enter this thing, right? So I'm going to do this in a different video, so I'm just going to stop here. But I'm going to do a 15-minute volatility strategy with 1 hour stop entries with scalps built in, 10 pip. The spread here is 3. You're looking to make 10, 20 pips. You're waiting for a 10 pip entry. And you just don't care, man. Most of it's scalp, right?